Okay. Hi, everyone. Or just him. Anyways, hi. I think you're on mute. Oh, but he heard you because whatever. Anyways, so for our writing sample, the student was writing, answering a question to the prompt. The prompt says, "This is the front door of a magical castle." Here's the front door. Draw the rest of the castle, then write about the castle. So the student drew the rest of the castle and the additional things that I will explain in the story. So he says, once upon a time, the Shorks caught 300 sharks, ate 3 peoples. The peoples is in the 300 Shorks, the end. And so that's the student's writing. This is a first grader in my ELD class. You're on mute still.
He is in my homeroom class.
Maybe, probably. Okay. So, how do we know? Okay. Okay. I forgot.
Maybe.
Okay. Mute myself on Zoom or on the computer. Okay. Sorry, technical difficulties.
Okay.
All
right. Let's do a fast recap, like what you just said, just in case. All right. So tonight we're talking of our grammar point for the week is nouns and pronouns. Nouns being the name of a person, place, thing, or quality, answering who or what. Common versus proper nouns. We've talked about concrete versus abstract earlier. And we're going to touch on count versus non-count nouns because the writing sample has some plural issues in it when we start talking about that. Also, we're going to add in some things about the articles, a and the, that he has in his writing sample. When it comes to the typical ELL errors, a common ELL error, this is coming right out of the Full C book, is to confuse he and she. And let's see, common ELL error is to use a subject pronoun in an object slot. The example in the book says, these shirts are for they. They also often can use what versus that in clauses. Let's see. And it says make mistakes with numbers such as this book's or these reasons, that when the plural doesn't match up with the right type of pronoun.
And in the specific of people with an S instead of people.
Okay, director. And all, it says all contribute to identification of what the student can do. Okay, that's that packet.
Yeah.
So do it all in person?
I think we can, since we're sitting together, I think I can hear through this. So.
Okay. So this right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're.
So now you're on our can do WIDA indicators. And so one thing that we were looking at is that for speaking, just knowing the student, his writing sounds like he speaks. And so he is retelling simple stories from picture cues, like Raven shared the picture with the cue and what they were supposed to do with the magical castle. And he went and took his imagination and made it into something else, not exactly following the prompt. But going off of the writing along with his speaking, we feel that it couldn't, I mean, so describing feelings or reactions to personal events or situations, that's not what
It was, oh,
So,
wanted to add something too. I know when we start teaching writing in kindergarten, when you said his writing sounds like the way he speaks, they always, we chant something and say, if I can think about it, I can talk about it. If I can talk about it, I can write about it. So it makes sense that as their writing should sound like what they talk about. And a lot of times you hear, like when kids have speech problems, you see that show up in their writing when they say, like whiff, like they spell a W-I-F, but they haven't developed the TH, so
or
that.
a lot of speakers, like depending on like their sounds, they will have different like a hard time getting CH or SH on paper, even though they can verbalize it to you, it's not always in their writing. Or TH is a big one as well. And so another thing going off when we're looking at the indicators is the student is actually on IEP for speech. And so a lot of the sounds that he has in his writing sample do follow some speech patterns that he is having a hard time with. And adding S to nouns, he does often.
That makes sense. And that it's just the right time to talk about.
Well, we also we are struggling trying to identify exactly because he did not exactly follow the prompt because he was supposed to talk about specific castles, and then he's talking about the sharks and how the shark
Eight people
ate
instead of
people.
like what their magical door would be.
Exactly.
So we started talking about a different noun versus the noun that was given. And
So that's kind of why we said for the writing on level 3, it says describing feelings or reactions to personal events or situations. And so I think he was just trying to describe what is happening inside the castle is kind of what we're thinking. And then it says
Or around the castle.
or around the castle. And it also says on level 3 of development, like he's recalling information from events that happened. So he's recalling what happened at the castle is kind of what we.
Well, and just knowing the background of this student, he loves sharks, and he like every writing prompt you give him, it has sharks.
That's cute.
So it's very it's a comfort as well, and so his writing you can tell reflects on the things that he is interested in, and so he has his words spelled very correctly compared to how he does his sounds and is able to really hear and like produce the sounds, especially when speaking and writing.
Well, and I wonder, since he loves sharks so much, when the prompt says it's the door of a magic castle, so maybe in his mind, if it's magic, there can be sharks there. So that's maybe it's more connected than we thought, just because his imagination could take him.
One kind of he he content,
is kind of classifying words and he has 300 sharks and he has 3 people. So he has what categories of things? Right.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that he
Like,
put the
wrote
word.
Yes. And then, and 3 people. Put the number, the 1 3, but then that number 100.
Yeah.
I found it also when I looked at you put S on the bottom, put the numbers used at 100 with 300
With hundreds.
would be also known because 3 is the adjective, so 300 if he thought was following the pattern that he has typically used in the past.
Well, and I think it's interesting too that, like in the prompt, it's or he says, once upon a time, the sharks. What do you think this word is? Could the sharks?
COD.
I feel like it is.
Once upon a time. I thought it was
Caught
or called.
or
Caught.
300 sharks and 8 people, 3 people. Called maybe.
3 sharks. I feel like I learned it before, but
He's I think starting off about well obviously once upon a time. It's like a fairy tale, like Sarah's saying it's something that like he imagined.
To, we were talking about introductions and how to start off a story. So one of the options was once upon a time or one day. So each of those is once upon a time magical. But I don't know.
could be. But it's funny that that 300 sharks only ate 3 people. Like all these are
And they
feasting
called them all
on
together.
three peoples, and then the peoples is in the 300 sharks. So they were able.
People.
Then said, and now it says the peoples is in the 300 sharks. So they're in the shark bellies.
Kind of like a secret.
I know. I, so what do you see the student doing with language? They have basic structures though, like when you said they started off with the once upon a time. And it kind of turns into one long sentence.
Yes.
The sharks,
I don't know.
all 300 sharks ate 3 peoples. The peoples is in the 300 sharks. So could be 2 sentences. But they are telling a story, and it is fantasy. So if you're putting genre on it, kind of like, he knows it's fantasy. Look at our vocabulary word. Today, the bottom one. So
His mind has been fantasy a lot.
yeah,
Especially not going off of the background, but just thinking of students' background have them write about something personal that happened because they go back to like fantasy and things that interest them versus like actually.
that's more fun sometimes than their regular life story.
And we should give him an overall level of where he thinks he is.
We will. You want to go over?
No.
You see it? I just saw that photo.
Oh,
Is it?
Well, I can't find the super things. Like,
Thank
oh,
you.
it's in here. I saw it.
So, overall, do we think he's
On this one or on that?
Like campus. But most of the things that we've been finding have
Developing, yeah. So like he's developing, but he's help like putting it together and also like using the correct noun versus like the counting. Am I saying that like the count?
The count versus non-count
versus
nouns.
non-count.
So
Okay,
when do we
sorry.
talk about that?
So the predicament phrase is from the transitional word starters, like first, next, last. He does have a sequence, but he did not use those words. And I think once the student gets those words and understands like how to form sentences and like how each sentence, you know, makes that, which is actually another thing we're writing with our personal narratives in class, in homeroom class right now, is beginning, middle, and end. So you start first and then you go next and the middle and then the end is like the last part. And so at the end he did put the in, so you can tell that he's trying to get the sequencing down. And so again, going back to what Raven said, I think like it did start at a level 3 developing. And that specific can do indicator is a expanding level 4. And so I think like next step is that something that we can go into now? Cool. That's something that we can definitely
Well, and did you say he's a NEP 1?
Yes.
So for a NEP 1 to be in 4, that's
But I guess part of the reason that's one like because like they are taking like a unfamiliar person to do their testing. And I just was growing a lot from the beginning of last year to this year. He was also in my daughter's class, so I got to know a lot last year. And so like seeing him grow in speech and like really like trying to enunciate more and to stay more focused and just like everything or like help his speech, and so that maybe I'm excited to see his access scores in the following year.
I agree. And I wonder, like when the access ladies, the ones who the SWAT team that comes in and tests everyone, I wonder what type of training they have and what allowances they can give for speech problems because they're not familiar with the kids. So
Reading levels because of speech. And so like talking about form and writing, how
it's I don't think it's a red flag quite yet. Well, in
or thinking that it's hard for him to get giving him like a sequence writing would help.
yeah, and I think in Dibbles, if you don't have to mark it as an error if you know it's their speech pattern,
Which we also
right?
Here's stuff I know how for the access. But I don't even know if it's on when he took the access.
No, because that came closer to the end of the year. That's a good point.
Well, he's also he is not bilingual. He is not fluent in Spanish. And I think that he's developing in English, like as you said, throughout the years. Access for developing in the language. He does have full language households. His dad speaks mostly English, he also speaks Spanish. And his mom is mostly Spanish and also lives mostly Spanish speaking. And so he will tell you he doesn't know how to speak Spanish, but he understands it. And where the writing is coming from or where he's hearing these sounds or is it well, it is in English. And so there's
But
a
it-
lot
His,
of factors.
in the speech, don't they say that his receptive Spanish is better than his expressive, right? He can understand it, but he can't produce it. Or maybe he can, but he's scared to. Yeah.
He also yeah, when he chooses.
Yeah, behavior is a different factor.
Behavior is a whole nother. But he's quite low in reading, because for kindergarten, and writing is one of those. I forgot.
1.3. I think it was 1.3. Also, I guess something else to go off of like this next step maybe jot down is like the confidence because he's a perfectionist. Like if he's writing it, it looks like
And
he's
drawing.
confident.
I mean,
Yeah, very good.
his writing is like
Yeah. And
very neat. Or for
he spends so much of his time like doing his letters perfect. I think a lot of the time he didn't add a sound, and so that might be some of the errors as well.
well, and that's the other thing. If he's he probably has whatever he wrote
Yeah.
right before. And so he's not going back and read it. So maybe then maybe he just
Well, and he also struggles with reading, and so if I go back to ask him to read his writing, it's really a challenge for him. And he can tell me what he wanted to say, but the words don't match what was on the page.
I just had a technical thought come to my mind. You see how the mine is the only one that did. Do you think it's only recording me sitting here? Should we
Yeah.
all look at this one? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
if
that's
it's-
true because last time, remember, like it would. Let me unmute it. I'm sorry, guys. Let's see if this does anything. Yeah,
Yeah.
it just doesn't come out. Hello. Yeah, it switches back and forth because now you can see me. We'll just have to unmute if.
So, or I can. What if can we all?
See, we
kind of
really
do-
are all here.
I'm gonna mute mine. But you know when you were, so when you showed like, there's the handwriting. you can see it.
The whole thing
Before.
from the beginning, they didn't see because Raven described it.
He did see it or you couldn't see it?
Couldn't see this, but
Oh.
maybe if that's the way it works. Because I do feel like it panned around us, kind of, but
We
Did
never
we-
panned around because like here, like with me being unmuted, I can see that it's transferred. The only reason I know that is because in our first Zoom, when I interrupted you, it came to me when you were talking.
Oh, that's right.
But that's was part of like the going back and forth or when Talia was petting her.
so,
Yeah, I would just think, we'll just look at yours. And talk
I'm
to
gonna
yours.
unmute and you mute. All right, so you can see the sample. This is. Right here. I'm using the-
Again, very, very nice drawing, very nice details for a first grader. Like most of the time, it does not look like that.
All right, so,
Oh, do we all agree that we want to put him in the developing level 3? Okay.
So give him a Vita writing rubric score.
Okay.
You could just timeline.
Okay.
Getting there.
Okay.
So we discussed your grading on the wheel on here. So
Okay.
does this correlate with that? So you said 4, linguistic complexity.
3.
A 3.
Or did we say 3?
Developing.
So
Developing.
simple and expanded sentences that show emerging complexity used to provide detail.
No, because he didn't have a period anywhere,
Okay.
or even
And
a
that's
capital.
part of our next steps too, is like the sequencing, which is part of that, isn't it? Like the simple sentences.
All right. Phrases and short sentences, varying amount of text may be copied. Well, yeah, that's the once upon a time part.
Mhm.
Some attempt at organization may, yeah, because you had the end.
He did have the end. The
So
only thing is the short sentences part, and
Mhm.
phrases and short sentences. But let's look at number one: single words, set phrases, or chunks of simple languages. Varying amounts of text may be copied or adapted. Adapted text contains original language.
I mean, the copied part was once upon a time, but it's actually, I mean, unless you know this because he didn't copy time, right?
He didn't copy time, right? And that could be again just going fast too. So I'm
Maybe a 1.5.
yeah, I would, because he's there, but
A
it's
1
the
plus.
periods.
1 plus.
I would say 1.5,
Okay. So that's
right in between entering and beginning
for
for the linguistic complexity.
vocabulary usage.
We want to start low and go.
Yeah, that sounds good. So usage of highest frequency vocabulary from school setting. So yeah.
Well, 100 that's a big one.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we learn about tens, ones, people, yes, as well.
Well, and again, writing it in word form versus number form.
Yeah. So I he jumps up to 2 there.
Related to the content area, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Lack of vocabulary may be evident.
Yeah. I would
Another
say
vocabulary word.
Again, it goes down to that 8, because he
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
wrote ATE 8 instead of number 8.
Or instead of aided. Like
Yeah,
a lot of the
aided.
times they'll
That's
add
true.
AD.
That's true.
General and some
So I
specific.
kind of feel like maybe we'll read number 3. Uses of general and some specific. Can you want me to read out loud? You can't see it.
Yeah, I'm trying to type up notes as well.
Sorry.
I think that's what I'm supposed to do.
Or
Yes. So I'll read it. Usage of general and some specific language related to the content area. Lack of needed vocabulary may be evident.
That's number 2.
That was number 3.
Oh.
so there's not
I feel like it would be lack of. I feel like it would be a number 3. Well, what's number 4?
technical language.
I
No.
would say number 3.
Well,
General and
the
some
other,
specific.
Well, it's specific, like in like how many people or how many sharks and people.
Yeah.
my thing
Which
is he said
ironic,
100
for 3
sharks.
people.
He said 100 people and sharks. How many times? It's very repetitive. Sharks is in there literally 4 times, I think. 100 is in there.
Again, going back to
twice.
what he likes.
Right. People is in there twice. So it is very repetitive.
You want to go between?
I say it's like a 2.5. What do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. Not quite a 3, but not quite 2. All right. Oh, sorry. 2.5 in vocabulary usage.
Mm-hmm.
Language.
Why do I put this on there? And was that like,
It's in the WIDA writing review.
oh, I thought this was the writing.
This
This
is
is the can
do up here.
All right. Language control, generally comprehensible when text is copied or adapted from model or source text. Comprehensibility may be significantly impeded in original text.
I think we can comprehend what he's saying for the most part. It took us a second. That one word we still haven't really figured out.
And
what
you're
that
talking
is.
about, he's a perfectionist. There's a lot of erasing.
Yes.
And I remember that last year.
And
He'll
if
go through some erasers.
he is so hard because he like grades me on my writing, and I'm like, I'm just trying to get this done.
Right.
So we like
You're not
get
in the
all way,
lines.
yeah.
You're not in the lines. He says that to us all.
Yeah.
But we can comprehend what he's trying to say. So as far as entering, I don't think that's it. Generally comprehensible when text is adapted from model or source text, or when original text is limited to simple text. Comprehensible may be often embedded by errors.
I think so.
Yeah,
Because it took us a minute.
it did
that
take
the
us a
people
second.
were on the show
Right,
and how 300 kids have been 3 people.
right.
They're peoples. And we need to know
It
that
was
too.
their appetite,
People's,
yes.
yeah.
Extending it because he did not.
Well, and then that goes back to, so it says adapted from model or source text, or when original text is limited. So it didn't give, the prompt didn't tell them how they had to write it or anything. And it was kind of, we still don't know exactly where the sharks came in the castle. So that's, I don't know. But that does it have to do with language control? The prompt? Not
I don't
following
think
the
so.
prompt? Okay, I wasn't
Yeah,
sure.
it does.
Well,
Think of access. Think of access
that's a
testing
good
when they
point.
go to do their writing, like if they're not following the
If
prompt,
they're
they
just
get a
writing all
0.
kind of stuff,
Yeah.
that's true.
Like all of the ones that we graded with our ELD coach, Rachel, it was
Where they on
like where they were, like how well they followed the prompt. Like, yeah, in first grade, like do they have conventions, and then they get marked for that, or like uppercase, but at the same time it's how well did they follow the prompt.
and we can't really justify if he followed the prompt or not.
Well, yeah, we
Right.
asked them some questions.
Right.
We need them to stop.
Right. And so I don't know if that kind of affects his score. I don't think he would go higher into developing. I think he's at a solid 2 beginning. We agree? Okay.
So now one thing for nouns and pronouns. So he, instead of using pronouns, he repeats that over and over.
Mm-hmm,
He
mm-hmm.
would use or when he wants to get twice,
Right.
and the extra people and people each the three and they are in their side. Or you know what I'm trying to say?
Right.
Like he could have used them there
And saying,
But I
So he
also think
doesn't-
that that's another thing, because like that's a less work for him, because he's spelled the word shark so much, and it's not spelled correctly, but it's very
close. Yeah, very close.
especially with how
He spelled
speaks.
sharks SHORKS.
And like
Shorts.
thinking of
So,
how he
with the-
short. Well, think of how he talks. I mean, what is
Sharks.
like shorts. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
for pronouns,
And we haven't learned controlled R either, so that would be something that like phonetically like would sound right.
so that
in
could be the
his-
next step.
Mhm.
So far, like our next, do you have so like so
Next step,
so
we were
far
talking about
sequencing.
sequencing. Oh my gosh, I
Mhm.
can't tonight. Sequencing. R, controlled R. Sentence structure or periods.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's one more.
So with
Topic.
pronouns,
Reading is writing.
Oh,
like you
yeah.
know.
Staying on. I was gonna say staying on topic or.
Well, and that goes
Well, I
off
don't know.
of getting him back into, so the next step would be 4, would be related sequencing transition. And so then the next step after that is editing narratives based on criteria for success, which is being able to like go back and reread.
Mhm.
Yeah, and see what they missed, and like being able to catch the S at the end.
And
Well,
so many
people-
kids, they're done writing, they don't go look back.
It's
Go.
really hard to have first graders that
It's very
or
hard.
just
Oh.
reread their writing too.
Exactly.
So, and for like, grammar, right? He, he's got shark, and he's able to do that plural. Because 300 would be plural, but he doesn't have people. It's already a pronoun. He adds the
Mhm.
F on that, so that's a teaching point for him to
Okay.
teach him how people is
And
already a group
plurals.
is plural. The 300 people, and the people is in the 300. But also like you talk about count versus non-count nouns in there. But
Mhm.
it is a count noun. He just needs to understand how count noun works, count nouns work.
Right.
And then when again about pronouns, you know, you don't since you already said you, what can you say next time? You could say
Mhm.
they, and there, in possession of them. They're in there.
Right.
And I also think that like where we're at in ELD, that's not something that is
Yeah,
necessarily.
pronouns hasn't been touched on.
Mm-mm.
And since I'm a teacher, I haven't touched on pronouns, so that would be definitely one to go into.
And I notice a lot instead of like when he speaks, instead of saying they, he'll say there a lot.
Last year he had a lot of, you know, his and her and I.
Mhm.
Oh,
So
and
he's
calling a boy.
Mhm.
He also had trouble with that too.
Right. But he used to say, my mom, her doesn't.
Her doesn't.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So when speaking,
And he still struggles with that. Not as bad. I'm just, well, not as much as he did used to, but
mixes.
It's interesting because it's funny, like,
really.
yeah. So, and
Well,
other
and
families
Kate,
model the same thing.
his sister doesn't as well.
Maybe, but I don't like. Can't compare fifth grader to
Right,
first
but
grader.
but thinking about like family-wise, typically they have similar patterns, and she speaks pretty.
I think it's really hard to like different or to like compare the three because like Seth he definitely has a speech.
That's
Like,
true.
it's
Compared to
hard
all
to-
of them, yeah.
And I feel like even talking to the speech pathologist, it's hard for them to really pinpoint like exactly like his progress sometimes and like what they're still working on and what they're really targeting for that specific session.
Right. Good.
All right, we have about 2 minutes.
When he
Oh.
okay, so sorry. When speaking, he also mixes pronouns such as
So what examples, we identified the grammar points.
Mm-hmm.
We've gotten the grades on here. We've talked
Mhm.
about the WIDA, the can-dos.
Correct.
We know how to check in with him for the
Next steps.
next steps. The other thing that was on the grammar key that we read about the articles, and so he has on 8 the shirt and the people.
Correct. Yeah.
So that's a strength of his.
Definitely.
And then he says the end.
Boom. Conclusion.
I think we've got it covered.
So good.
All
All right.
right.
Bye.
Stop video. Oh,
Wait, I don't think.
stop recording.
There you go.
Start everything. Stop recording.
okay, no. So go down to the end to end meeting.
Okay.
It's gonna go until when you say end meeting for all.